Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be creating 3 cards using the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month kit, and this is from the month of October. So to save a little bit of time in the video, I'm not going to include me running the dies through the die cutting machine, but I do want to show you all of the pieces that I created, and then I'll show you how I put them all together. So here I'm showing you the die as well as the piece that I've cut out. And then next I'm going to jump into here putting together the pumpkins. So when you cut these, they have some see-through sections, and I wanted mine to look like a solid pumpkin. So what I ended up doing was just adding these down on top of the opposite cardstock that I've used. And then I'm just going to trim around them to make sure that I don't have any of that color sticking out along the edge. Here I've got my pumpkin stem, so I'm adding just the smallest glue dot at the top of the pumpkin there and placing that down. Next I'm going to work on putting this truck together, so I've got my sentiment and I'm going to layer those two together. There are a lot of little pieces to put this truck together, but it is so worth it in the end. Here I've got the bumper. I'm going to add that along the bottom. And then I'll place a couple of glue dots and put down the lights. And then finally I'll finish it off by adding on the mirrors and the tires. And I did refer to the sample just to make sure that I was getting everything in its proper place. I've grabbed a piece of paper from that same Jen Hatfield's warm and cozy paper pad that I used in the last video, trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to attach that here to the top of my card base. And this card base is made from MFT's Jelly Bean Green. Here I'm just laying out my card fronts, and then I decided I needed a little something more up at the top. So I grabbed a piece of some orange twine, and this matches that darker pumpkin pretty well. I also grabbed a piece of just a neutral white twine, sort of wrap those together, and I'm going to add a bow up at the top here. Then to make sure this truck stays on nice and tight, I'm going to use Scor-Tape along the back. There are just so many layers here. I want to make sure I'm getting a nice tight seal when I stick that down on the card front. So because there's lots of different little pieces, I did use a mix of 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/8 inch Scor-Tape to make sure that I got the whole back of this truck covered. And then you'll see before I place that down, I will take my art glitter glue and add that in some of the smaller pieces where I couldn't fit the tape. And I'll go ahead and place that down. For the inside, I'm using a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and this sentiment reads, "With all my heart." That's from the Simon Says Stamp Thankful Heart stamp set, and I'm stamping that out using Lawn Fawn's Hippo ink. I wanted to add a little pop of color on the inside, so I'm using some of that leftover orange, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment for everything. Then I'll go ahead and trim that down, add a little bit of Scor-Tape to the back, and I'll place that sort of at an angle to finish off that inside sentiment. Again, I'll add a little bit of glue to the back of that and go ahead and place that on the inside of my card base. Finally, I added a little glue dot behind that bow just to make sure it stayed in place, and that will complete card number 1. For card number 2, I'm going to do a Christmas themed card. So I've gone ahead and put together this truck off camera just to save a little bit on the time. And then here I'm placing together this Christmas tree. Now I did cut out the branches for the tree twice. I wasn't sure how full I wanted the tree to look, but I ended up only using one of them. And then there are also 2 dies that cut out some smaller branches. I did use all of those smaller branches in order to fill it in and give it a little bit more texture. So the best way I found to place the tree inside the trunk was to actually go in through the bottom, which means you're not actually seeing the bottom fourth of that tree, but I would still go ahead and put together the whole tree even if you're planning on recreating this exact card, because you want to have a little bit sticking underneath, and that also allows you, when you put the Scor-Tape down, to really secure that tree in the trunk of the truck. So here you'll see I'm using some of those little branches and just adding those in to fill it in, as well as give it a little bit more texture. Here I've grabbed another piece of paper from that Jen Hatfield Warm and Cozy paper pad, and I'm trimming that down to 4x5 1/4. I've gone ahead and attached that to the top of my card base, and also used Scor-Tape again to attach my truck. Here I've showed you a Marvy snow marker. This is so much fun. It works just like a regular marker, but it's a bit liquidy, so it's sort of similar to like a masking pen that you would use for watercoloring. So you lay this down wherever you want your snow to be, and then you hit that with your heat gun, and it gives you this really amazing puffy texture. So there you'll see I've created a little bit of a snowbank towards the bottom. I've hit that with my heat gun. I did hit it from both the top and bottom of my card, the front of my card base there, just to make sure that my card doesn't warp too much. And then here I decided, since my truck was driving in the snow, it probably needed a little bit of snow left on it as well. So I'm just doing a few little white highlights on the truck as well as the tree, and then I will come back in and hit those again with my heat gun. And the more liquid you have down with that pen, the puffier your snow is going to be. So I wanted to add a little bit of glitter to my snow as well, so I grabbed my Terra Expressions Snow Flurry Sequin Mix, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that along my snowbank, and then I also added some up at the top of the card to sort of mimic falling snow. So I lost a little bit of my footage here, but for the inside of the card, I'm again on a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I stamped out this Warm Wishes sentiment. This is from Mama Elephant's Jingle Bell Greetings, and I again used that Lawn Fawn Hippo ink, and then to finish off the bottom, I added a little stripe of glittery red washi tape. So here I'm giving you a look at all of that texture, and this will complete card number 2. For this third card, I am creating this sample that is included with the die set. So this is going to be a birthday card. And again, I've gone ahead and put together the truck off camera just to save a little bit of time, but I'm showing you here how I put together the presents that are going to fit inside the truck. For this pattern paper, I actually pulled this from the watercolor pack of paper that came in the Spellbinders October card kit, which I will have coming up for you shortly. So it is thin paper, it cuts just as great as cardstock, and they were really easy to put together. So there I'm using a side piece of that same pattern paper, and I've trimmed that down to 2.5 inches wide. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Birthday Bit stamp set. I love this stamp set. As you can tell from the color of the stamp, I've used it a lot. I am still stamping with Lawn Fawn Hippo ink, and I've just placed that there. Here I'm working on the inside of a smooth white card base from MFT, and I'm stamping the coordinating sentiment, Let's Celebrate. I've gone ahead and trimmed down that birthday wishes sentiment. I ended up doing a 2.5 by 2.5 inch square, and then I added a banner edge on the bottom of that. I have again added Scor-Tape along the back of my truck, just peeling back the adhesive here. And then I will add a little bit of glue on the smaller parts of the truck that was harder to hit with the Scor-Tape. And I'll go ahead and place that down. That floral paper that I have for my background is also from the watercolor paper pad that came in October's card kit. So I have that one last present left. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of that, and then I'll place that on the inside of my card. And that will complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.